Thank you all so much for coming out tonight to find out a little bit more about Youth Emergency Services. First, I have to give a big thank you to Hotel RL and to Cammie for having us out and partnering with us. So thank you guys very much for all of that. Every night there are hundreds of young people on the streets of Omaha who are homeless or near homeless. I was able to wake up in a nice warm bed this morning next to a big black 95-pound black lab and got into a nice shower and had a wonderful breakfast and some coffee. And I know that as I was sitting there thinking about it, I knew that there were lots of young people who didn't have that opportunity to have a shower, to have a meal, to have a roof over their head. And I know it's nice outside, but still, it was still a little chilly this morning, at least I thought so. So where does Youth Emergency Services come in with all of this? 1974, one of our board of trustees saw several young people hanging around downtown. And Cindy went up to him and said, "What are you doing? You should have a job. You should be working. You should be doing something besides hanging around downtown." And they said, "I got kicked out of my house because I was gay or because I was pregnant. I left home due to abuse, physical, sexual, emotional abuse." So they had no place else to go. So Cindy, being the amazing person that she is, took them all home with her, 4 of them, and they lived with Cindy. Till one day she got up and the kids had decided to do something really nice, and they painted all of her kitchen cabinets green. Now I'm redoing my kitchen, and green isn't anywhere near where I want to be. But you can see Cindy tell the story now, and she got a newspaper, and they bought a house in Bellevue, and that became the Yes House in 1974. Since then, we have done a lot of research on what we need to do for young people in our community, because not everybody that's homeless needs the same set of services that we can provide. So we provide a whole continuum of care, which includes going out on the streets twice a week, where we take water and snack food, and we ask people, do you need something to eat and you need something to drink, and invite them back to our street outreach center. Last year we had about 11,000 interactions on the street. That's a lot of young people that we're dealing with. So back at our street outreach center, we've just expanded. To give you a little clue about how much we have increased over the years, in 2011 we served 700 youth in our street outreach center. Last year in 1,900 square feet, we served 1,925 young people. We were very fortunate this year to be able to expand our space and our services at our street outreach center. So now you can come in and get a hot meal that's served in a steam table instead of crock pots and roasters. Take a nice hot shower, 2 sets of washer and dryers, a nice pantry, clothing closet, as well as we have a VNA nurse that's there 3 days a week who can do minor medical things. We have 2 mental health therapists that are on contract with us because of all the issues that young people have from being out on the streets. We also, I feel very fortunate, we have an amazing conference room now where we have support groups for our young people. We have a women's empowerment group. For those of you that don't know, sex trafficking in the city is huge. The most recent statistic I've heard is that within the first 72 hours of a young person being out on the streets, 90% are approached by a trafficker. 50% of those go into the life. I've heard that Omaha's probably, and Nebraska's probably a lot shorter than that 72 hours because of our yo-yo weather. It's freezing rain Monday and tomorrow it's 70 degrees. So we do a lot of empowering women and figuring out how they should be treated by other people in our community. From there, we still have our shelter. It's north of Creighton. It's a 6-bed shelter, 3 weeks. We need to figure out what you need in those 3 weeks. Is it going back home? Is it finding other residential places or another relative for you to live in? Working on documentation. Not a lot of our young people think, I should take my driver's license, social security card, and birth certificate when I run away from home. It's not what they think about. But if you want back in school, you want a job, you need all of those things. But how do you keep somebody from being homeless? Is you give them a place to live. We have lots of beds, 30 beds that we have for our young people in our transitional living in our maternity home. It's up to an 18-month program. During that time, our young people that are living with us have to be in school or have a job or both. They also pay rent starting on the second month. And this is the part that I think is really cool about our program that we have, is when a young person decides it's time for them to move on from YES or they've done their 18 months, we give them 80% of their money back. Think about going out to your first apartment. I know I barely had money to be able to put down deposits, so I had lawn furniture in my apartment because I couldn't afford anything else. So this allows them to put deposits down and rent and furniture. It's phenomenal. Our mothers, right now we have 5 moms, 1's pregnant, a couple toddlers, 3 babies. They do everything that our other programs do, but they also take parenting classes. Another great part about our program is we offer mentoring to anybody that's in our programs. A lot of our young people have not had amazing role models growing up. So now it's working on those trusting relationships with adults to help them out, figure out what to do next. We've also started job readiness this year. I'm so excited about this. We started last week. We're going to show people, our young people, how to pay their bills. Not just how to get a job, how to keep a job, how to move up in companies, and figure out what they want to do when they grow up. A lot of our young people don't realize that they can go on and be electricians or plumbers, or we had several that went on to college last year. But without the support of youth emergency services in this community, they don't get those things. I want to tell a story. Well, actually, I have lots of different stories to tell. But the one story I like to tell is a story about Natalia. She was 19 years old, beautiful young lady, living in Kansas City with her boyfriend when she found out she was pregnant with her second child. Natalia knew that's not the way that she wanted to raise her children. So somehow she scraped enough money to get together to get from Kansas City to Omaha. She got a cheap hotel room, and about the time she was about to get kicked out, she opened up the phone book, and in the front of it you see 211. United Way, if you need services in the community, they'll help you hook up to what services you need. And I feel very fortunate that they reached out to us from United Way for Natalia. We went out and interviewed her. 2 days later, she's living in our maternity home. She gave birth to another beautiful baby girl. Oh, I can still see those eyes. Just dark, beautiful eyes. Within a few weeks of giving birth to her second child, she got her GED. Shortly after that, she received her certified nurse's assistant, and she went out and got a great job as a CNA here in town. Natalia has since moved out into her own apartment with both of her daughters. They're doing amazing. And a few months ago, she went out and bought her first own brand new car, and it was really cool. There's a picture on her Facebook somewhere of Natalia standing in front of her car, and the dealership had put a big bow on it. And that smile on her face, they say a picture says 1,000 words. Well, this is even more than that. Because Natalia told me over and over again, and she would tell you the same thing right now if she walked into this room, that if it wasn't for youth emergency services, I would be dead, and there's no telling what would have happened to my children. So that's why we're here. I want to thank Hotel RL for having us out, for partnering with us. Homelessness is a horrible thing, but when you're young and homeless and have nowhere to turn, life seems like there's no future for you. And that's where we come in, to give people a future. So thanks. There's several of us in the audience that are with YES, and we'll be here to answer your questions and see what else we can do. So thank you guys for coming out. Thanks, Cammie. Thanks, Living Stage. This is kind of cool.